when I would quit smoking, I knew that I had figured something out. And finally happened, actually, a couple months ago. And when I say it finally happened, it's just that kind of desire to constantly want to smoke, want to distract myself, and I do directly this, right? This kind of this hand gesture thing as well. I knew I was onto something big. And so quit smoking for me really got me into a kind of thinking or feeling or process that helps me transform really fast. And perhaps I've been doing it with things previously, but unknowingly, and maybe just a kind of curiosity or whatever. But this time I even knew that I was writing about when I quit smoking. I know I have found a way that will help me transform even more. So what I did actually, what I'd like to share is about it's kind of the reconceptualizing of suffering, because in a sense I also suffered while I was smoking. So one of my friends at some point in time, because I was always trying to quit, and then I would have this, addiction relapse, like, oh, I feel bad about it, and then you do it, and then, so that's kind of this addiction relapse. And then she said, if you do it, then just enjoy it, right? And just go in it, embrace it, do it. And sometimes I could enjoy it. Oftentimes I couldn't, because I get actually physical symptoms of my throat was pretty much hurting oftentimes. And I would actually have often that I wouldn't have a voice or a raspy voice. And actually I really like singing, but because of those reasons, I never really got to sing. Still not, but that's another journey, I guess. So the smoking, I was not enjoying it. It was still kind of suffering. And so then a couple months back, I really went into process with it. So to go into process sounds like such a big thing. For me, at least, it's kind of like going into process is, making your whole life a process, being so serious, and everything needs to be coming out. All the trauma needs to be resolved. And so just want to lighten that idea about it. So for me, going into process was just being curious and being kind and being asking the parts of me that wanted to smoke questions. And especially while I was doing it, the first step for me was to, funnily, because smoking brings in dirty air, but the first step was to breathe and to get in air. And what that does for me is it brings space. So when I allow myself to have more space, some people might say count to 10 or take a step back, or but it gives room to observe. And especially the opposite of space and observing for me also is very rushing through. And similarly, that is not enjoying. I couldn't enjoy the cigarette because I was actually trying to rush through it. Because the body also knows that when you give time and you allow to be in the space and to allow slowness, to allow the slowness of life, that you might reconsider. You might reconsider that that's not what you want to do. Yeah. So I went into the process and I asked, so what's the value in this? What is the cigarette offering me? And then I was observing, okay, I'm outside. It's very tranquil outside. I'm taking a space in between, coming from work or something. And then, I came to the word, it's very grounding, actually. So then I thought, okay, so is the cigarette break a grounding practice for me? Okay, perhaps. And then, because tobacco among probably other substances, maybe sugar, maybe alcohol or whatever. But tobacco, because it's a plant, it made it even more so that I could ask the spirit of the tobacco, ask the spirit of the plant, what it's teaching me. What are you inviting me into? Please give me some wisdom. What are you showing me? And somehow, I guess here is the first element of also trusting and kind of perhaps not taking it so serious and just have fun with it, of whatever comes in. And, don't make it a religion. You can if you want to, but I don't. So then more and more things came up and I was trying it out, and at some point in time it dawned on me of that, so whatever it is that the tobacco is trying to teach me, it's a teacher. If I can internalize that in a different way, perhaps that would then mean that the tobacco can let me go, or I can let the tobacco go effortlessly. And then I have embodied that teaching. So that became actually transforming fast. Understanding that, I'm also a binge eater. So that's the next big thing that I'm in right now is, so what is this continuous invitation trying to teach me in my life? And especially I feel the softness in my voice, because the tenderness and the kindness of, not suffering in those instances, even though we have labeled it as really bad, we know mentally that it's not good for our health. But why is it there? If everything has a purpose, a constructive purpose, then maybe we haven't just found the purpose of it yet. And so it's up to us, this kind of, kind parent or teacher, or you being your own guide, or, your own lover, in that way that you help guide towards the right place, and where it is very welcome, and how it can go its own merry way. Because to be honest, discipline and structuring and restricting, it might be a way on redirecting your focus, and then you refinding out new information because you are refocusing yourself onto something. But I don't believe it's a sustainable way on how to navigate your life. That's my conviction, because I believe then so much energy goes towards upholding these restrictions, even though I think, the purpose of life is to flow, and it's, it's like water, it's ever changing. So when you are constricting, it's kind of, there's still work to be done. Energy needs to be put there, so that somehow these boundaries can be infused into the river, your flow of life. So I'm not saying one needs to be boundaryless, because there is both the infinite and the finite. And I think actually having constrictions, having rules, having structures works really, really, really well. And again, it serves a purpose. And for me, I think the purpose to serve is that it becomes embodied, that it becomes something effortless. So, I don't have to, when I see somebody smoking, or I have these thoughts, don't have to push them away, like restricting them, putting them in a corner, because I have unpacked them. I have resolved it. So there's peace with it now. It's in harmony. So it's somehow a different concept on what it means to suffer, and what suffering might actually be or ask from you. It asks for resolution. It asks for, hey, I want you to learn something from me. I want to offer you something. So I guess, let's stop calling them the bad guys and welcome them in. with kind and tender embrace and humility also probably. So next up, being kind to my binge eating.